Yo, what is up guys, your boy IzuKage here with the movie for What If Naruto Was Evil. So part 1 was a good while ago and I wasn't gonna drop part 2, make you guys wait even more. So here's the movie in its entirety, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the What If. Talk to me nice, look. So we start the story off with the birth of Naruto and the whole battle with the Nine Tails and the Masked Man. That all goes the same, and Minato uses the Reaper Death Seal to seal the Nine Tails within his own son, Naruto. And so as Kushina is dying, she does the same thing as in canon. She starts wishing the best for her son, saying he should eat his vegetables, go to bed early. And after a while, she succumbs to the Nine Tails being extracted from her and dies. And Hiruzen and the Anbu run in and sees Naruto with this seal on his stomach, and Hiruzen immediately knows what this is, what Minato has done. So for the first 4 years of Naruto's life, Hiruzen raised him in his own house as his own son actually. Hiruzen was really kind to Naruto, but after the birth of Konohamaru, Hiruzen basically kicked Naruto out. He gave a 4-year-old his own apartment to fend for himself, and this was the first stage of Naruto's spiral into villainy. So Naruto would spend most of his days inside since he had no friends, and the only person he would see for months would just be Hiruzen when he occasionally comes over to give him some money to live off of. But through all of this, Naruto was never mad at Hiruzen. He was happy because he would always see his granddad, or who he sees as his granddad, every month or so. So it's around Christmas time and Naruto is still 4 years old, and he decided to, get out once in a while. This is his first time, well, not his first time seeing snow, but his first time being alone and just seeing the snow for all its beauty. Because the years before, Naruto was mainly just locked in Hiruzen's house. So he goes outside and the villagers, they don't like Naruto. They start not running at Naruto, but talking bad about Naruto, whispering, and Naruto felt really uncomfortable. So he decided to enjoy his time outside of the village. He went to one of the forests on the outskirts of the village, and he's just walking through, having his good old time. When Naruto, he starts hearing these voices, he can't really make out any words, but there sounds like a lot of people. So he goes towards them, and when he gets closer, he peeks through these bushes and he sees 3 guys picking on this one girl with bluish black hair. And Naruto, he can't stand for this. This girl, he's seen her on different occasions, so he runs up trying to, do something about it. Naruto, he runs up to these bullies and said, "Hey, stop that." And Naruto has this weak stance, and the boys turn around, and the sort of leader of these 3, he turns to Naruto and says, and what are you gonna do?" And Naruto puts up his fist and he's like, "Well, I'll hurt you." And these kids start laughing at Naruto and say, "Just stay there and let us finish this up." So they turn back to Hinata and start punching her and calling her names. But Naruto, he said, "I said stop," and he runs up to the largest guy there and he punches him on the shoulder, but it did absolutely nothing. The guy turns around and grabs Naruto's wrist and said, "I told you to wait." And he throws Naruto to the side, and his 2 friends run and pin Naruto to the ground and start getting a few hits in themselves. And then the guy hops on Naruto and starts punching him over and over in the face. And Hinata, who was slowly starting to get up, sees this happening and she can't do anything. So Naruto, he's getting almost knocked out at this point, and that's when Hinata's guard finally finds her, and he sees these 3 boys and runs them away like some dogs or something. And he goes up to Hinata and asks her, "Lady Hinata, are you okay?" And she nods and gives a quiet And she says, "Can we help Naruto?" And the guy, he turns and sees Naruto and says, "Oh no, we don't talk to that demon." And Hinata is wondering, "What do you mean by that?" And he says, "Let's just get back to the compound." So he grabs Hinata's hand and he's grabbing her hard, and he's squeezing down on her hand. And she's a child, so this is really painful, and drags her all the way back to the Hyuga compound. Meanwhile, Naruto, he's just laying on the ground. He can't move. He's just out there in pain. And a whole day goes by. So Naruto was out there in the almost freezing cold for a whole day. Well, for the whole night. And then when day finally comes around, Naruto, he can finally get some feeling in his body and slowly gets up and makes his way back home. After that incident, Naruto, he was sad, but he wasn't gonna let that get him down. If he's got beat up that easily, then that just means he needs to learn how to fight. So that's what Naruto does. And for the next week or so, he begins sneaking into the library to steal scrolls on the history of the village, all the clans in the village, and different taijutsu techniques. So for 4 years, Naruto dedicates his time to learning all of this. And this is around time for the start of the academy. So Naruto, he's pretty smart for a kid his age and has some techniques to his name. He isn't like Lee level, but you know, Naruto, he's gonna get stronger over time. So, to the start of the academy, and Naruto, he walks into class, and some people, they're looking at him kind of confused because over these years, Naruto has remained almost entirely in his house, only going out to buy food and things like that. And also I should mention, Naruto has gotten a lot more mature. It's not even funny. He's like a fully functioning adult at this point. That's how quickly Naruto had to grow and mature just because of the circumstances he was put in. So Naruto, like people in Naruto's class, they're looking at him kind of like, who is this kid? Because they barely ever saw Naruto. They don't even know him. But Naruto, he goes to the back of the class and sits next to a window like the usual anime protagonists. So he waits for the teacher to come into class, and soon enough Iruka does, and he does the usual introduction, you know, telling them how he wished they're gonna have a good year together. So after all of that, they do a little lesson. Everyone gets a quick evaluation, nothing physical. They just did a short test to test the person's intellect to see where they stand in the class. And after this test, Naruto actually ranks first in the class, with people like Sakura, Sasuke, Ino following closely behind. And Shikamaru, I mean, he would have beat Naruto if he actually applied himself, but we all know for Shikamaru, it's too much of a drag. So after that, people are actually surprised by this kid's performance. So some people in the class realize Naruto would probably be a good friend, so they start talking to Naruto. These people being Shikamaru, Choji, even Ino and Hinata. And Hinata was the most surprising because she wasn't very talkative, but just being around Naruto made her talkative. So after this, it's around lunchtime, and Naruto, he's sitting having his lunch by himself when Kiba comes up to Naruto, and he goes in front of his desk and start bad-mouthing Naruto, saying he doesn't belong here and he should learn who the alpha in this class really is. And Naruto is just confused what Kiba is talking about, and Naruto's dumb act doesn't sit right with Kiba, and he slams his hands onto his desk and says, "Don't play dumb with me. You think you're all that? Well, demons like you deserve death," and walked off. Naruto was confused what Kiba was talking about, but in these version of events, Kiba's mom actually died in the Nine Tails attack, so that's why he held a huge grudge against him. So after that conversation, Kiba, he would go to the different people eating in class and start telling them things about Naruto, saying how he's a demon and he shouldn't be trusted and how he can kill them at any time. Basically, because most of the people in the class, they don't know that Naruto is a demon, they just know that their parents don't want them to be around Naruto. So Kiba is telling them all of these scary things, saying how Naruto is a demon and he can lose control at any time. So if they get close to him, they'll probably be the first ones dead. So this was really convincing to a lot of people in class, and the newfound popularity that Naruto had only lasted an hour or two. And after the break, like after class was in session, nobody wanted to sit next to Naruto. Before, he had 3 people like squeezing into the decks next to him just to talk to him, and now he's just all on his own. But of course, Naruto, he's dealt with way worse than this, so he's just gonna keep chugging along, getting through the school. So for Naruto's first day at school, it went okay, but a lot would change on the second day. And when Naruto went into class, he saw everyone was out of their seats and like they were in a straight line. And Iruka instructed Naruto to join the line because they were going outside to have a quick assessment of what everyone's capable of. They go outside and do a simple circuit, jogging, and then have a little obstacles where they just have to jump from pole to pole. And when they're finished, they'll do accuracy training and then some sparring. Some light sparring, you know, they don't want to do anything too crazy because, I mean, they're still kids, of course. So everyone, they line up and they're not put into pairs just yet. So Iruka has them go through the obstacles and Naruto, he's doing actually really well. But Kiba, who is behind Naruto, and Sasuke, who's in on what Kiba is going to do, they're both traveling really closely behind Naruto. And as he's jumping from one of the poles, Kiba, he jumps to that same pole and accidentally pushes Naruto into the mud under it. The mud was just there to, you know, entice people not to fall, to try your best not to fall. And Naruto is completely dirtied up from head to toe, so he gets up and he's mad, but he's trying to contain his anger. So Naruto just goes back from the beginning and does it all over and makes it to the accuracy training portion. And this portion, Naruto, he wasn't amazing at it, he just did decent. He went up and Iruka handed him 3 kunais and 3 shuriken. Naruto threw them at the targets, but only got 4 out of 6, which is around the average score. And then it came to the 1v1s. Sasuke was paired with Naruto and they both walked into the ring. Sasuke looked at Naruto with a disgusted look on his face, but Naruto paid him no mind and he just waited for Iruka to start counting down. And while Iruka was waiting, Kiba, he was standing closer to the ring than anyone else was. I mean, other than Iruka, who was basically on the line. But Kiba, he had Akamaru and he had a plan to, you know, mess with Naruto in this fight. So as Iruka started the match, Sasuke took the first move and ran at Naruto, and Naruto was surprised by how quickly he was running at him. But when he got close enough for taijutsu range, Naruto was actually dominating Sasuke in taijutsu. He was blocking all of his punches and throwing some punches of his own right into Sasuke's face. And Sasuke, who wasn't about to look like embarrassed in front of all the students in the academy, he jumped back and then waved hand signs and says, "Let's see what your punches can do against this." And he said fire style, fireball jutsu, and shot out a massive ball of flames and it shot towards Naruto. And Naruto, he was too slow to react and it hit him head on in the chest, knocking Naruto almost out of the ring. But he was okay, well, okay in the sense that he didn't get knocked out. But Naruto, his entire chest and stomach area, that was scorched fully. And his arms and legs as well, but Naruto, he could still continue. But Iruka, I mean, he paused the match and asked Naruto, like, if he was good. And Naruto, with determination in his voice, said, "Yeah, I'll beat him." And Iruka, he was like, okay, and he started up back the match. And while Naruto, he was taking a bit of a breather in the corner, Kiba sent out Akamaru, who was really small, so no one really realized that Akamaru was in the arena. And he ran over to Naruto and bit onto his ankle, and Naruto, like, he screamed in pain. And Sasuke, using this diversion, he ran up and punched Naruto square in the nose. And this launched him back. His head is literally on the line of the border of their little fighting area. And Naruto, he was like, "I've had it with you damn cheaters. I'll show you what I can do." And Naruto, it was like he wasn't even there anymore because his whisker marks started becoming more pronounced and more wild, and his claws began growing longer and sharper. So this wasn't Naruto. He was being influenced by the Nine Tails. You can tell because, I mean, he started showing fox-like features. Even his eyes turned red. And Sasuke, seeing this, his first thought was, the Sharingan? But then he looked closer and saw no Tomoe, and, you know, he realized that it couldn't be it. But Naruto, he got up so quickly, almost no one could perceive him moving, and he got behind Sasuke and kicked him in the back, but grabbed his shirt so it didn't go out of the ring, and flung him back in and slammed him into the ground. Everyone was looking in horror of what Naruto just did, but Naruto didn't stop there. He pounced on Sasuke and started beating him across the face. He like mounted on his chest and started punching him over and over and over in the face until he was bloody and he was all swollen. And Iruka, he ran in to grab Naruto off of him, but Naruto, he was mad. Like, he wasn't gonna start getting people like walking all over him, so he punched Iruka too. And then the cloak of the Nine Tails began forming around Naruto to, form the One Tails cloak. And this made Naruto exponentially stronger. What everyone thought was fast before, Naruto was just getting started. He blitzed behind Iruka and used his nails and stabbed through his back. And Iruka, he was on the ground and said, "Naruto, why?" But Naruto, he wasn't there anymore. And Naruto, he turned his gaze to the rest of the academy students, and he had no mercy in taking them all out. So Naruto, he started with Kiba, and he blitzed Kiba, doing similar to what he did with Iruka, and stabbed him through the chest with his nails. But not only that, Naruto started pulling his hands apart, literally ripping Kiba in half. But of course, he wasn't strong enough for that, so he dropped Kiba on the ground with a massive hole in his body. So Naruto, he would go on to either kill or severely injure many of the people in his class. And the notable students to survive were Sasuke, Ino, and Shikamaru. But before Naruto could finish the job, Hiruzen appeared with his fleet of Anbu. Not fleet, it's like 4 of them. But the villagers who were passing by, because this isn't a closed off area, it's just fences so anyone can see in. And they saw this brutal murder, so they made sure to inform Hiruzen as soon as possible. And he's the one to arrive, and he's going to stop Naruto, or at least die trying. This fight was legendary. Naruto managed to kill Hiruzen. I'm just capping. If you think One Tails cloak Naruto, Kid Naruto at that fact is beating Hiruzen, no. Yeah, Hiruzen defeated Naruto with literal ease. He didn't have to try. Hiruzen used Earth style, Earth flowing river, trapping Naruto, then used a great fireball. When Hiruzen could see the aftermath of the attack, he didn't see Naruto anymore. So we cut to him running through the forest out of the village, and he said to himself, "This kid's body was easier than expected to take over. I guess I should thank you, Minato. If I had stabbed you just a second later, you would have had enough strength to seal me away for 4 more years. But now that I'm out, it's time to take my revenge." Due to the Nine Tails influence, Naruto's body went through a drastic change. Now, instead of the usual, change you would see when Naruto was influenced by the Kyuubi in part 1 of Naruto, not only was now his complete demeanor changed, the way he walks, the way he talks, just the way he acts. Apart from all of that, Naruto, his physical appearance was different. Naruto, his hair was starting to have a red tint to it because of this influence. And Naruto's younger body was getting a bit more built, like a slight bit taller and more muscular. So for the next 5 years, Naruto had been living out in the forest, being fully controlled by the Nine Tails. Meanwhile, back in the village, people were gathering in crowds outside the Hokage mansion, calling for the capture and execution of Naruto. Hiruzen was being pressured from all sides, like the elders, the clan heads, the villagers, everyone in his life are calling for him to do something about Naruto. So Hiruzen, he came up with a plan for it. He had made a special group of Anbu members for this one mission, and they aren't allowed back in the village without Naruto. So they've been on this mission for 5 years, and their only hope of returning back to their families is finding Naruto. So while he was doing nothing, Naruto came up with, well, I'm saying Naruto, but it's, Naruto's body with the conscience of the Nine Tails. So during his time in the forest, Naruto had come up with the perfect plan to get back at the Lee for all that they've done to him, and it'll all be possible as soon as he can completely remove the seal, and also get rid of Naruto's conscience in the process. Because while he's sleeping, he can feel Naruto trying to get back into control, and it takes a lot of focus for that not to happen. So sometimes he goes through sleepless nights. And Kurama doesn't know who has the key for the seal, because if it were to even be loosened to the point where it's technically open, that still won't be good enough for him to be able to, completely get rid of Naruto. And the only person he knows of that could help him in any way is Orochimaru, and finding Orochimaru isn't an easy task. So, Naruto emerged from the cave that he's been in for the past 5 years and started walking aimlessly in hopes of finding any leads on Orochimaru's whereabouts. As Naruto is journeying through the forest, he can sense two ninjas running his way, so he quickly hides behind one of the trees. And Kurama waits and waits, and then he sees Kabuto carrying Orochimaru, but his hands look kind of weird. They're completely black and are limp, it looks like he can't move them. Because this is happening right after the Chunin exams, but Naruto wasn't going to waste this opportunity and begins following behind the two. So Naruto, he follows them and they're going on for ages, like it's been an hour of Kabuto just carrying Orochimaru and he hasn't rested at all. So eventually they come to this clearing in the forest and Naruto, he watches as Kabuto knocks on this tree like 5 times and this latch opens up and he lifts it up the ground and he starts heading down the staircase. So before they go in, Naruto comes out of hiding and walks up to Kabuto and explains why he needs Orochimaru's help. And Orochimaru is listening to this and Kabuto immediately wants to, fight Naruto, but Orochimaru has a different plan in mind, the plan to extract the Nine Tails from Naruto and use it for his own benefit. Well, maybe not extract, but use the Nine Tails somehow in the different experiments that he has going on. So Orochimaru says in his defeated voice, "I can help you, just follow us." So Naruto follows them inside of the hideout and they're walking around and Naruto realizes that it's completely empty. Normally it would be Orochimaru, Kabuto, and the Sound 4, but the Sound 4 aren't there. They're trying to get Sasuke on their side. So Naruto is following Kabuto and he carries Orochimaru into his room where he lays him down to rest. And Orochimaru tells Kabuto to give Naruto a room and he'll get to him eventually. So Naruto gets his own room down the hall from Orochimaru's and Kabuto says, "Just wait here, I'll instruct you when Orochimaru needs you," and shuts the door. So Naruto, he's in his room and he's realizing the state that Orochimaru's in. It looks like he can't even use his arms, so how would he be able to help them? So Naruto, he goes to bed for that night and Kurama appears in his mindscape. And Naruto, finally seeing Kurama, begins arguing with him, saying that they never needed to go that far back at the village to the extent of killing people. But Kurama says, "But you wanted them to die, didn't you?" Naruto was hesitant but said, "No, I didn't want them to die." And Kurama repeated himself, "Didn't you?" And Naruto remained quiet. Kurama continued saying, "We could be unstoppable if you just release this seal." Naruto, he was hesitant, but Kurama kept feeding into his goals by saying, "Didn't you want to become the next Hokage? This is the way to do it." And the water below Naruto started to lift him up to the Nine-Tailed seal on the cage. And Kurama said, "Rip this seal and you'll become everything you've ever dreamed of." So Naruto raised his hand slowly, starting to rip off the paper, but this triggered Minato's chakra to form, and he appeared behind Naruto and was going to stop him, but as soon as he took a step forward, Kurama used his nail and shoved it through his chest and said, "Stay dead." Naruto fully ripped the seal off and the cage flew open, sending Naruto flying back into the wall, and Kurama could finally stretch his legs, and he begins to walk over to Naruto, who was barely conscious, and said, "Now we can be stronger together." And Kurama grabbed Naruto, who slowly faded away, fusing both their consciences into Naruto's body. So the next morning, Naruto gets up, and this isn't just a regular Naruto, this is both of their consciences fused, so some goals from Naruto are implanted into Kurama's mind. So Kurama now wants to go back to the leaf, but he doesn't just want to destroy it and go on a complete rampage. He wants to, first take his revenge and then take over the village. Sort of a twist on what Naruto wanted to be. He wanted to be the Hokage, but Kurama wants to be its dictator. So yeah, as I said, Naruto, he gets up and starts walking to the exit of the hideout with a clear goal in mind: to pay the Leaf Village back tenfold. So as Naruto is walking towards the exit, Kabuto steps in front of them and asks, "Where are you going? I thought you needed Lord Orochimaru's help." And Naruto said, "Yeah, not anymore." And Naruto goes to walk out, but Kabuto puts his hand out in front of him and says, "Well, I can't really let you leave." Naruto looks at Kabuto's hand that he's using to stop him or, well, hold him back from getting out. And Naruto says, "Get out of my way," and grabs his hand, pushing it backwards, sliding it out of the socket joint in his shoulder. And I've never had a dislocated shoulder, but I heard it hurts like hell. So Kabuto is screaming at the top of his lungs, and Naruto spin kicks him across the face into a wall. And Orochimaru is down the hall watching, but he can't do anything in the state that he's in. So he just watches as Naruto walks out of the hideout. So when Naruto gets out of the hideout, he takes a huge breath and begins his journey to the Leaf Village. So on his journey there, Naruto comes across multiple villages and he leaves them in chaos, using his Nine Tails ability to destroy buildings, homes, and I mean, it's only shown once, but other than Kurama's destructive roar and tailed beast bomb, Kurama can breathe fire. If you remember when he was trapped in the planetary devastation and he was 8 tails, yeah, on a rampage, you know, fighting pain, he did breathe fire. So I'm just gonna use that as one of Kurama's regular abilities. He can just use it whenever. So Naruto, he's tearing through these smaller villages, he's burning them down, and he's getting stronger and stronger every step of the way. Every village he fights, Naruto is fueling his own anger, which, well, makes him stronger. So when Naruto gets to the Land of Waves, he has 6 tails out, and Naruto runs on all fours using his tail to destroy the buildings. Sort of imagine Tokyo Ghoul, the strength of Kaneki's tails. That's what they are right now. So he's using them to smash buildings, and Naruto, he's running through buildings, and that's when he sees a crowd of people. And he stops and sucks in a massive amount of air into his lungs and lets out this massive amount of fire, like a flamethrower, roasting them alive. And nobody was safe. No, there's nowhere you could hide because Naruto could just smash it down and get to you. So Naruto went along the docks, burning all the boats, and that's when he sees a family. There's an old man and the other was a lady which is way younger than him, and there was a child there. And all Naruto sees is red, and uses his tails and grabs them and smashes them into the ground. And that family, of course, was Inari's. So from the Leaf Village, there was a thick cloud of smoke coming from that direction, like the Land of Waves. And when I say thick, bro, think of the thickest cloud of smoke you've ever seen. And the elders notice this, but they can't really help anyone right now because they're in the middle of finding Tsunade. Because remember, this is basically right after the Chunin exams, so they have huge, like, heavy damage to the leaf from the sand invading them. So yeah, put simply, they just have too much on their plate to worry about anyone else right now. So after his stay in the Land of Waves, Naruto heads to his final destination, the Hidden Leaf Village. And he makes it there in no time since Naruto is running at full speed. Imagine the speeds that Naruto was attacking Pain at in their fights, and that's constant. So he's, yeah, running max speed towards the leaf. And the guys at the village gate who are, you know, the guards to stop people whenever they're coming in, they start hearing a loud sound like a stampede of animals, and they look out to the path leading towards the village and see this red and black figure running at ridiculous speeds, and they immediately send an emergency messenger bird to the Hokage, and as soon as it flies off, the 9 tails, well, one of its tails smashes into the little building that they were in, but they didn't die, like it didn't kill them. So Naruto enters the village and stops, and people who were going about their day stopped and looked at Naruto in absolute shock. But Naruto, he wasn't attacking anyone, he was just walking calmly, passing people who were too scared to move. And Naruto passes Ichiraku Ramen, these other places, and the village is just completely silent, just watching where Naruto's going. So obviously ninjas try stopping him like Jonin and Chunin, but Naruto would simply walk past them and their jutsus would be blocked by his tail. Like one of them, for instance, tried to use a fireball jutsu and Naruto just knocked that aside with his tail. And this was basically every ninja he came across, and soon enough they realized he wasn't being hostile, so what's really the point of attacking? So Naruto, he would get to a certain store, and when he sees this store, he starts destroying it, setting it on fire, smashing it to nothing but rubble. And the reason for this is the person who owned that store deprived Naruto of food almost his entire childhood. Naruto would have to walk to the other side of the village, like half an hour to and from, to even get food to eat. So Naruto would start doing the same for everyone who's ever wronged him in the village, destroying clothes store, toy store, and in total destroying 7 buildings. And at this point, the ninjas that were there started attacking Naruto, but he wasn't fighting back. He was just taking it, he was blocking it, but only fighting these guys because that's what Naruto wished for, so Kurama didn't go overboard. And you guys might be wondering, well, where's all the main characters like Kakashi and those people? Well, right now Itachi, he's in the village and he's fighting Asuma and Kurenai and Guy, while Team 7 was out finding Tsunade, so not many people are in the village except for Jiraiya. Because he was the one who stopped Shukaku in the first place, he was there when it happened. So Jiraiya was seeing all of what Naruto was doing, destroying these places, and he realized he wasn't on a complete rampage, so he had time to think of a plan. But once he came up with something, Naruto was walking towards the Hokage's office. So he climbed up the side of it and he broke through the glass in the Hokage's office, and Kurama's chakra began subsiding and he asked the elders, "Where is Hiruzen?" And they were frozen in fear because Naruto's presence had a lot of killing intent, and he kept asking them, but the elders just couldn't answer. But that's when Jiraiya appeared and said, "He's dead, Naruto, Orochimaru killed him." And Naruto, hearing this, thought for a moment and said, "Well, I should have thanked him when I saw him last. Now I'm here to take over the leaf." And Jiraiya got into a fighting stance and said, like I'd let that happen. And Naruto said, "You of all people should know that without hatred, progress cannot be made in this world. I'm going to spread the prosperity of this village to all the nations surrounding it." And Jiraiya said that it's a foolish goal, no one will ever join your dictatorship. And hearing this, Naruto got a bit angry but laughed and said, "If people don't conform, we crush them into conformity." And Jiraiya said, "I won't let that happen," and rushed Naruto. The two got into an intense taijutsu battle, but with the little experience Naruto has, he stood no chance against Jiraiya, who's been taught by an Hokage. So he jumps out of the Hokage's office and starts using his Nine Tails power, and Jiraiya using his Sage mode. So Naruto runs at full speed at Jiraiya, and he could barely keep up with Naruto honestly, and got punched in the gut. Naruto pushed himself off the ground using his hand, and this kicked up into Jiraiya's head, and similar to Sasuke's Lion Barrage, Naruto jumped up towards Jiraiya and said, "If you don't give up, I'll destroy this entire village," and spun around and slammed his foot into Jiraiya's stomach as he hit the ground. Jiraiya coughed up blood and was beaten up badly, and Jiraiya grabbed onto Naruto's foot because he was desperate at this point and said, "I won't let you." Naruto laughed and said, "I know you're holding back, you haven't even used a Rasengan. I've been doing my homework about you." And Jiraiya began to get up, but Naruto continued, "You know I can level this village in a single move, so I figured you got the idea by now. Stay out of my way and this village prospers, and so does the land around it." So Naruto begins to walk off, and Jiraiya bites his tongue and looks at the Hokage heads, and he sees Minato and Hiruzen, and he has to put his head down in shame. He can't look at them at, what Naruto has turned into. He has failed the both of them. Failed this entire village actually. So now Naruto begins his takeover and takes everyone off the council immediately. The civilian and shinobi council, that would be the heads of the clans like Hiyashi Hyuga and Shikaku Nara. So they've been kicked off the council entirely and they really couldn't do anything about it. And the elders also. And Naruto, knowing about Danzo, he doesn't know exactly what he did, but he knows Danzo is untrustworthy, so he makes sure to take them out. And all the Root Anbu now answer to him and him alone. So when Team 7 arrives back in the village, they're surprised to see that the damage from the attack is almost completely fixed. But when they go to report to the elders that they found Tsunade, they open the office doors and see Naruto sitting there with his legs propped up on the desk. You know, they're crossed. Naruto is just chilling. So they all got in a fighting stance, and Kakashi, he says, "Naruto, what are you doing here?" And Naruto laughed and said, "What do you mean, Kakashi? Aren't I from the Leaf Village?" And Kakashi said, "You know what I mean. You're banished from the village for the atrocities that you've done." Naruto responds to that, "And you better stay in line because I'm the Hokage now." Sasuke, not wanting to listen to Naruto's BS, rushes him and says, "As if." But Naruto snapped his fingers and 2 Root Anbu jump out of the shadows and restrain Sasuke. He tries activating his curse mark, but it doesn't work because remember Kakashi put a seal on it, so he can't really use it. So Naruto had another Anbu restrain Sakura and he gets up to confront Kakashi. And Kakashi tries pleading with Naruto for him to stop this because he doesn't want to fight Naruto, in all honesty. Not that he's weak or anything, well, not that Kakashi's weak, he just doesn't want to fight in this building setting. So Kakashi says to Naruto, "Please stop this isn't what your parents would have wanted." And Naruto, trying to toy with Kakashi, said, "Then who are my parents?" But Kakashi still kept it a secret. And Naruto laughed in Kakashi's face and turned around to look outside of the window that he fixed because remember, he broke through it earlier. And said, "Kakashi, what you're witnessing is the start of something great. The start of a new era. The start of the Leaf's empire. And I'm sure Minato and Kushina would be proud." So Naruto begins expanding the Leaf Village. First, the Root Anbu would be sent to negotiate the Leaf's control over their land, but of course, who would agree to their land being stolen? So this only works like 1 out of the 10 times. You know, some people, like 1 or 2 people said yes because they aren't trying to fight anyone. So no one was happy with the deal and soon wars broke out across the country. But with Naruto himself on the front line sometimes, this went almost pretty smoothly. Naruto would just use a Biju bomb, destroy the place completely, boom, bam, bim, easy, and just head out. Not larger nations like the Land of Wind launched a full-scale attack on the Leaf, but this still didn't work. And colder regions like the Land of Iron or people with strong wills like the Land of Lightning, this took months to conquer that place because it just wasn't easy, either the terrain or, like I said, the Land of Lightning, which has a really strong ninja and they aren't gonna give up easily. But soon enough, almost every piece of land belonged to the newly established Leaf's empire, ruled by one man, Naruto Uzumaki. And Naruto's rule lasted for years. Different things like the Akatsuki, their plans got thrown into chaos due to the war and had to disband their group. So after all of this bloodshed, the world entered into a new state of peace. People weren't happy. After all, a lot of their homes were destroyed. Just imagine, what happened to the Uzumaki clan. And this happened to almost every small village out there. But after rebuilding, Naruto's dictatorship actually began to help a lot of people. Technology soon became commonplace. Cars, roads, highways, they were all coming together to make the Naruto world, like the Naruto universe, more like modern society. But that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Some of you may have realized that later on in the what if it just got really crazy, and I just thought what was the craziest thing I could do, and boom, we have this. I'm sure, not everyone is gonna like the way I took it, but I just had fun with it, and I hope you guys had fun listening to it. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you like it, and if you like my content in general, consider subscribing, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.